comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson.
Next, I'd like to acknowledge the Glen Ridge High School Marching Band, which I think is here with us tonight. Under the leadership of Dr. Darren Gage. Darren, why don't you come on up and bring your band members with you, please? And that rather unassuming trophy that you have in the back back there. Dan, did you ever get a running trophy quite that big? Not that big over the end, right?
Maybe this year.
Maybe this year. Well, it's certainly my pleasure to acknowledge you guys and to, express our congratulations to all of you for really an excellent job. This weekend, you guys went down to the national championships, right, at Delaware State University, and came in second, which is a huge accomplishment. And well, let's have a round of applause. Walk us through the year and the music that you played. I know personally how much work goes into being a band member. My son was on the band while he was in high school years ago and had a terrific experience. So please, maybe just give us a little background on what it is to be a band member and what your program was and how you came to win second in the Nationals.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And thank you for having us, first of all. The marching band at the high school is a varsity sport. Although it is very different, it's unique and different from any other sport in the high school. But we practice a lot of hours, at least as many as any of the other varsity sports do. And because of our responsibilities to perform at our home football games, as well as having our own competitive schedule, we end up with really busy weekends. And we had one this past weekend because we had a home football game on Saturday. And we got to perform there. For the team's winning game on Saturday, and then we got to travel to Delaware yesterday for the national championships, which was the culmination of a 6-competition schedule that we had that started back in late September and kept us mostly in New Jersey. We had the state championships in New Jersey 2 weeks ago. We placed in the top 5. We placed 5th at state championships. Second in music and third in overall effect, and then we had a really good week of rehearsal and ended up going to national championships and beating nearly every band that had placed above us at states and ended up coming second in the country yesterday in Delaware. 43 students from the high school who did this, and these are 5 of the most important of those because these are seniors who are captains who have student leadership positions in the band, and we couldn't have done anything as a band we did this year without these incredible leaders. So if you don't mind, I wanted to have them at least introduce themselves.
Yes. So I'm Glen. I'm the upper room captain. I control the flutes and clarinets in the band.
Great.
My name is Marta Perino. I'm the color guard captain. We made things look very pretty at the end. I'm Helen Sages. I'm the drum major of the marching band, so I get to stand in front and conduct everything.
Yeah, congratulations.
Isabella Kenzie. I'm the brass captain, so I'm in charge of all the brass instruments. I'm Zoe Provost. I'm the drill sergeant, so I help teach marching.
So, and it really was an honor to represent Glen Ridge and really the state of New Jersey, you know, down in Delaware this weekend. But we were really very, very excited and honored to be bringing the Glen Ridge uniform down there to championships, and then on top of it to do so well. So,
Darren, this is your first year as the director of our band.
I can't promise that we're always going to be that big. But
You really set the bar pretty high. Has the Glen Ridge band ever achieved this high in national championships that you know of?
In the 1970s, the band won a national championship, but that's the only time that I know of the band placing
I
higher.
was actually part of that championship.
Were you?
In Florida, right?
We were in Florida. It was 78. I was a freshman.
Okay. Yeah. And that trophy, I think, was even a little bit bigger than this one, so. As it should be.
I don't know. That's pretty big. It's taller than me, so.
Well, we certainly are very proud of all our students, and we're very proud of our marching band. I thank you guys for coming on short notice. We only found out today that you were successful on the weekend, so we really are proud of you guys, and thank you for coming. We will be having a proclamation drawn up, voted on by the council. We'll be proclaiming a day in the near future, the Glen Ridge Marching Band Day in Glen Ridge. To honor all of you. So, again, we thank you very much for all your...
to grad school.
Yeah. Well, anyway, final round of applause, please. Also, I want to recognize the parents of all of the band members because it's a huge effort to get all the equipment ready and delivered to the right place at the right time, and all the fundraising that goes on for the band. I mean, I know the parents help me. So, again, for the parents, congratulations to you. Thank you for your support. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Proud of
much.
guys. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Okay. I think let's take a 5, maybe a 3-minute recess.
So what was your instrument? Oh, color.
They tried to put me in the musical section. They had to be-
Good seeing you.
All right, we're ready? Okay, so we're back on the agenda. Let's see. Okay, so we are at the point in the meeting where we have the comments of the public. Just so I get a show of hands, who's here for what topic? I think we have Laurel Avenue here tonight, right? I have nothing new to report on that, but Anne-Marie, do you have something you want to report out on that?
Sure. Would you like
Would you,
to?
yeah, and I think the other thing we have is what, Essex Avenue? Do I see residents from Essex Avenue? Very good. Is there anyone here for anything other than Laurel or Essex Avenue? We have the county here tonight, right? Do you have anything to report out, Jackie, tonight? No, no report. Okay. All right. So why don't we give a report out to Laurel? Do you have anything you want to say tonight, Christine?
I would just like to check in and say that I'm
Yeah.
Deborah Dine of Laurel Place, and I'm
Yeah.
here on behalf of the
So,
cul-de-sac.
Anne-Marie, would you mind giving us a quick
Sure.
report on that?
I think we reported out at the last meeting that the first public meeting was scheduled to be held on November the 30th. There's been a development there, and the township, and that Montclair has requested that we separate the meetings. They have issues that they feel relevant, I guess, only to their fourth ward. So what they're requesting is that Glen Ridge have a separate meeting just for Glen Ridge residents, and that meeting is currently scheduled to be held on Thursday, December 3rd at 7:30 p.m. That meeting will be here at the council. It will be attended by H2M and the traffic consultants. And we will also offer the separate early meeting for Laurel Place residents at 7 p.m. here also at the council on Thursday, December 3rd. And that's all I have.
Yeah, now, so you're going to meet here a half an hour or in advance with the residents before you meet with the
Before the
the
H2M
hospital people, the
presentation.
consultants, and the traffic people? Okay? Yep.
The traffic, yes, and I guess to reiterate from the last time, the traffic study will start this week, November the 12th. 5 days, 15 sites, 24 hours.
Sounds like a movie. 5 days,
5
15
days.
sites, 24 hours.
24 hours.
Okay, we're good? Nope. Yeah, come on.
When will that traffic study be available for us to see? Will it be available before the December 3rd meeting?
We're hoping to have the traffic study available for the Montclair meeting. So as soon as it becomes, we should have the traffic counts the end of next week, and then hopefully the analysis in another 2 weeks. So we met with BBR, who's a traffic consultant, and they believe they'll have a report completed before Thanksgiving.
Okay. And would that be available
That will, of course, will be available.
on the,
We'll post it right on the Mountainside update link.
On the Mountainside Update link, that traffic study.
thank you.
Okay, anyone else on Laurel? All right, so now we have Essex Avenue. We have a number of residents here I see in the audience. Mike, do you want to give us a quick update of where we're at on this?
Okay, we completed everything but the striping on the Essex Avenue project. This was a joint project between the Borough of Glen Ridge and the Township of Bloomfield. Bloomfield was the lead agency on the project. And at a Public Safety Committee meeting this summer, we had residents from Essex Avenue take note of the striping plan that was proposed for the project, namely that there would be a double yellow stripe line down the middle, that there would be white shoulder lane demarcation, as well as bicycle shallows. At the meeting, we promised two things from the Public Safety Committee. One, we would perform a traffic study and have a report issue, and the second was that we would have a meeting before we proceeded with any striping. We had a meeting last week. It was attended by about 15 residents, and at that time, we had the Bloomfield engineer, Chief Ryan was there, as well as myself. So we reviewed the traffic report, as well as Mr. Lasik, the Bloomfield engineer, reviewed his striping plan. For the meeting, there seemed to be consensus that everybody was in favor of the parking lane demarcations, the white striping, and the bicycle shallows. What was the review is whether it was necessary to have the double yellow lines placed in. So one of the items that the Bloomfield engineer suggested was maybe go with thermoplastic for the white shoulder lanes and the shallows, and use paint to demark the two yellow center lines. One, it'll wear down, and two, it could be removed. The residents expressed concern, one about the aesthetics. Two, will it increase traffic on Essex Avenue, causing potential safety problems. as well as the impact on the neighborhood character and your housing values. And so I believe those are the major points that right now remains. We did the striping for the crosswalks and the stop lines for safety reasons, and those 3 items remain. And I guess right now is to decide which way to proceed. It's a joint project with complicates things because it was a Bloomfield project, and we unilaterally can't make a decision on what the final product's going to be.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's where we're at. Please raise your hand, come on up, give us your name, give us your address, let us know what your thoughts are. Typically, if we can keep it, if you got a long speech, if we could keep it to, say, 5 minutes, it's not a hard 5 minutes. If it goes over, that's fine. If it goes under, that's fine too. So please raise your hand and come on up. Yes, sir.
Is it necessary to accept the mic?
Well, it helps us get a record, yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, please come up.
And for the minutes, we can't pick it up sometimes if you're in the audience.
And welcome, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Alan Rieger. I live at 46 Essex. Thank you all for allowing me to speak this evening. This is obviously regarding the ongoing issue of striping Essex Avenue. You've heard from us before, both at the Safety Committee meeting and also at the Essex Outreach meeting. We're not a vocal minority. We do represent a large number of your constituents living on or close to Essex. As Mr. Rohall stated, we love our street, we love its character, we love living in Glen Ridge. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here or continue our effort to develop the street in a fashion that's in keeping with the character not only of Essex, but we believe is Glen Ridge as well. And we hope you will understand and concur with our position as you seem to have done in the past. As residents, however, we do feel aggrieved due to the lack of notification from towns prior to or during the construction. In a survey, an informal survey that I conducted of residents on or around Essex Avenue, whether they received any notification regarding the striping of the street or other construction efforts, it was a resounding no. So why is this a problem? You know, we do put a lot of faith in Glen Ridge. But we do believe that Essex Avenue is not just being repaired, it's being repurposed as a major thoroughfare. There are other yellow lines on streets in Glen Ridge and also Bloomfield, but these lines are typically indicative of highly trafficked roads. And I believe some of my friends in the back are going to talk a little bit more explicitly about that. The first time this issue was brought to light was at the Safety Committee meeting. And I think approximately 25 people were at that meeting, and there seemed to be almost unanimous support for no striping. That meeting concluded fairly positively, I felt, giving residents a sense that our voices, despite no prior notice, had been heard. But now we're back again speaking out against the same issue, which is striping the road. So 3 main things that I think we're going to hear from some of my fellow residents this evening are striping is, again, not in keeping with the trend for Glen Ridge or Bloomfield roads. 2, we feel that it's a violation of our rights as residents and taxpayers that no fair notice was given prior to the construction about the details of striping. And 3, that there's significant evidence that double yellow lines will do more harm than good for our particular street. And I'm now going to say thank you and let my fellow residents speak.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies, gentlemen, who else would like to come up? Okay. Hi.
My name is Sherry Landis, and I live at 126 Essex Ave in Glen Ridge, and I'm here also to oppose the center line in Essex Avenue and give other consideration to the side white striping as well. In the last few years, many of us have called City Hall begging, when is our street going to be repaired? I mean, I've had 2 axles repaired in my car because of the potholes and the drainage and everything else, and we want to say thank you very much for fixing our street because it was in much needed repair, and we really do appreciate it, and it's great. But we also feel that we weren't really informed about what the street was going to look like when the project was finished. Alan actually found plans on the road, and we were all kind of shocked to see that it was not only going to be, you know, yellow lines down the middle, but white lines on the side. And I will say the traffic crosswalks that you've done are excellent. They're great. We really think that those are a help. Double yellow lines do constitute a busy street. The U.S. Department of Transportation requires center lines on streets that carry cars of 6,000 or more per day. And it recommends that striping is done on streets that carry 4,000 or more cars per day. Essex Avenue averages about 1,600 cars per day, nowhere near that higher number. The Glen Ridge traffic study, which we do appreciate as well, found out that cars are going on average about 5 miles over the speed limit. It should be 25 and they're going around 30. This is much slower when there are parked cars, which create a natural narrowing of the road. You cannot travel that fast when there are 2 parked cars on Essex Avenue. It's simply not wide enough. We would really like it if a center line would make traffic go slower. But in fact, studies don't show that, and a lot of studies show just the opposite. In fact, the city of Pasadena recently concluded in its traffic study, experience has shown the removal of a center line on local streets results in more cautious driving behavior. Placer County, California, outside Sacramento, says in its neighborhood traffic management program, and I quote, "Past evidence of striping on vehicle speed reduction is inconclusive." And finally, Sandy Springs, Georgia's neighborhood traffic calming measure states, "Striping of minor streets can increase the daily traffic volumes and increase cut-through traffic as the road appears to be a major route." At the last meeting, we were told it wasn't just the traffic striping, it was a combination of striping, the whole package. That's great, but where can we read that the whole package also slows traffic? Because I and others have looked and cannot find any studies that prove that this is true. One study that is cited frequently by traffic engineers as a reason for painting lines is called roadway striping as a traffic calming option. It was done in California, and it was presented by the Chief of Police and the Safety Council in an email. Okay? It says over and over again that striping is a cost-effective method of slowing traffic. And when you look at the numbers, it really isn't an effective method of slowing traffic unless the traffic is going significantly faster than it is on Essex Avenue. Traffic, in the 40s or over that. It also states in one of its final paragraphs in this crucial study that was handed to us by the city and is used a lot, community acceptance of any traffic calming measure is critical in long-term implementation and effectiveness. As a community, we feel we were not asked for our input. We weren't told that our local street was going to be shifted into a collector street if that is indeed the ultimate purpose. We love Essex Avenue, and we do want it to be safer. We want cars to go slower. However, if it can't be proven that it works, and we don't want the striping, why are we doing it? We oppose the painting of our street for both aesthetic reasons and for safety. And I've included all the literature that I cited right here, and you can have it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sherry. It's a pretty good presentation.
Hello, my name is Glen I, my husband, and 2 young children live at 58 Essex Avenue. Like most of our neighbors, our family is deeply troubled by the wholesale reimagining of Essex Avenue that has apparently been single-handedly designed by Bloomfield engineer Paul Lasik. In public meetings to date, there's been a lot of talk about how double striping will affect neighborhood character. I would like to describe what that means to us because it goes well beyond aesthetic concerns. As housing prices throughout Glen Ridge continue to increase, Essex remains relatively affordable. As a result, we are increasingly a street of young families with young children. Our homes are modest. We do not have big backyards that we retreat to. We socialize on our front porches, and our kids ride their bikes and scooters down the sidewalks. The double striping of Essex Avenue threatens the way we interact with our neighbors and the strong sense of community that we value. We fear that remaking our street in the image of much busier streets, as cited in the studies that Sherry presented, will change the way drivers approach our street. With double striping, it will appear to motorists that they have reached an arterial or collector road, as Mr. Lasik disturbingly characterized Essex at the last public meeting. They will drive accordingly, as if they are on a busy thoroughfare rather than a 100% residential street where dozens of families live. I challenge you to find one other 100% residential street in all of Glen Ridge that is double striped for its entire length, as is being proposed on Essex. The fact is, there are none. Double striping in Glen Ridge has previously been reserved for mixed-use streets, such as Belleville or Bay, or for limited 1 to 2 block stretches with particular traffic hazards or near school zones. Wholesale double striping is contradictory to the nature of our neighborhood and our community. I firmly believe that if this project had been developed through an inclusive public process, as is recommended by the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and federal programs such as the Community Block Development Grants, as well as standard planning best practices, it would not look the way that Mr. Lasik has designed. Mr. Lasik himself admitted that he did not solicit any public feedback before redesigning our street. Opposition to the plan was nearly unanimous among the residents who attended the September public safety meeting and remained among the majority at last week's meeting. What we have is an out-of-character project that is being pushed under highly questionable claims of safety onto a street that does not want it, with zero public input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak out to this issue tonight?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mike.
can I have clarification? Are you referring to all striping or just the double yellow line in your presentations tonight?
I think what's being proposed is the double yellow striping, so we would be interested in hearing alternatives, but
But-
haven't been given any alternatives.
No, but I mean, because at the last meeting, everybody was in favor of the parking lane, white line, and tonight I'm hearing striping in general, so.
Yeah, I think Sherry, when you spoke, you were opposed to any striping at all, right?
I guess I would say that, again, with the meeting that we had just the other day, after looking again at more and more studies, I just can't find anything that says, that will slow traffic.
Well, I'm not sure it would slow traffic, but one thing I think it might do is alert people to the fact that we have cars pulling out of driveways. And one of the things we've seen there is a number of accidents occurring when someone pulls out of a driveway and gets struck. And I think that would have a beneficial effect, the shoulder.
And Mr. Mayor, we also had 2 accidents where people were passing on the right.
Yeah. We used to see that a lot on Ridgewood before we put the white stripes, because the road is so wide. People are not, if they get impatient, they'll pass you on the right. And that's what leads to accidents. That's what, and we've seen a reduction, I believe, in that on Ridgewood Avenue since we put those white lines in. Yes, sir.
I am a little agnostic about the white lines, but I do feel that I kind of question the logic behind creating 4-foot wide parking lines on both sides of the street, because I don't know any cars that are 4 feet wide. Most cars are 6.5 feet wide, maybe a little bit more or less than the style of the car. So what we're going to have is cars that are parked basically straddling these white lines, and that's going to create some parking confusion in my mind. It doesn't make sense to me to have 4-foot wide parking lines when the only thing that's really going to accommodate would be motorcycles.
Okay, hold on, Mike.
I had the same question for Paul after we spoke. According to Paul Lasik, the lanes are going to be, typically you want 8 feet for your parking lane. He says they're at 7.5 feet wide, not 4. So that was what Mr. Lasik and I talked about that last week. So according to the study, it would be 7.5 feet, which is about a half foot shorter than what you would desire, or wrongly desire.
Can you point us to any streets where we can compare that have just white? I know you're talking Ridgewood, but
No,
like Grove, I'm just saying, are there any streets that we could look like our streets going to look?
I don't know. If I'll tell you what, I'll email the whole group to see what, this, at the meeting we had a different opinion. So I'll email everybody to see what your opinion is of the white line and the bike showers as well, because it seems a bit of a change from the conversation we had last week.
Is Bluefield wanting all the white lines to end?
Yeah,
I mean,
the engineer from,
concern?
the engineer from Bluefield as well as their public safety department are both proponents of all the striking that has been proposed.
But they made the plans, and we just followed along with it. You know, we didn't really, I mean, you see that all of us are very concerned about it, and I'm hoping that, you know that, we don't want that.
Because right after that public safety committee meeting, I conveyed the message to the mayor of Bloomfield as well as their engineer, and I think it went to their public safety director, the concern, and asked Bloomfield to hold up until we receive the input from residents and we perform the traffic study. So we're at that point where we're talking meeting. We can't make a decision, but of course we'll be in contact with Bloomfield tomorrow with your comments about the design. And I think Mr. Lasix aware from last week's meeting with both the Glen Ridge and Bloomfield residents on this subject.
Yes,
Commissioner?
the plan right now is to meet with Bluefield, relay your concerns, but I have to tell you, I'm a little confused as to whether or not you're in favor of, my impression from the meeting last week was that the majority of people on Essex Avenue were comfortable with the white lines that would demarcate either the bicycle or pedestrian or parking lane, right? And there are reasons why we thought that would be helpful. One of it is, as the mayor said, backing out of your own driveway gives you space, but, and it does funnel in to an area where the traffic will be going in a north and south direction. If you're adamantly opposed, or if that's the consensus of the street that you don't even want that, we need to have that conveyed clearly. Now, I know there were people who also are in favor of the striping from, on Essex, who live on Essex Avenue. So what we're going to do is talk to Bloomfield. We know what LASIK wants to do, right? He already got presented the plans to DOT. They did take the lead on the project, but before we do anything else, we will talk and communicate with you. There will be no striping, we said that before. But there is a lot of information that's not consistent.
I just want to say, I'm at 148. As I did last week, suggest that I was okay with the white stripe. Do I need to be up?
Tim, if you could, because for the minutes, sometimes it's hard to hear the transcribing in the back.
Cindy Matthews at 148 Essex. I did 148.
158?
48.
Thank you.
I did suggest last week I was okay with the white striping. And then I drove around town over the weekend just to see what it might look like, and it doesn't exist. So then I'm wondering, again, do we need it? It seems to me the entire plan is just over-engineered for our street with 1,600 cars a day. So completely opposed to the yellow lines. I don't feel that we need the white stripes either.
And I feel pretty passionate about that too. I really like, and that, my background is Historic Preservation Commission, so I get what you're saying. In an earlier conversation, I said, why do we need lines on Essex Avenue? And unfortunately, the town line goes right down the middle of Essex, so it's not just us. It's not just us, it's Bloomfield. And if we're up to me, no lines at all. But unfortunately, we have Bloomfield to consider, and it's a major consideration because they put half the bill or one-third of the bill.
Half.
So,
I just think it's a solution to a problem we don't have, and it could invite more problems. Because everything I read says it could increase our traffic, and it could also increase the speed of the cars on the street. So not only is it aesthetically not pleasing, it's doing the opposite of what LASIK claims it would do.
attitude. I'd rather see if it really does, if it really is needed, because more lines, more signage. Granted, we need crosswalks and we need signage for that, because that's important. But beyond that, I don't. Even bike, and I'm a cyclist fan. I just don't get it.
Thank you.
Then finally, just one item I have to check out that was brought up at the meeting with Mr. Basic, to see if we could close out the project with the Department of Transportation without the striping being implemented. So I'll also contact DOT and verify whether we could close it out.
I mean, look, you could try and imagine all kinds of different outcomes on this thing, but Bloomfield would be within its right to just stripe their side of the street, and we would tell them, don't stripe our side of the street, so they would just move the striped lines just off the center line, and then and we want to have some sort of consensus between the two boroughs. Otherwise, I think we're going to get something that could look really crazy. But we will certainly, we will certainly stand up and ask Bloomfield to reconsider.
Could I make a comment? Perhaps if you look at Sherman and Bay, where there's a single short yellow stripe and the stop sign, would that make them happy? And Bay in Essex, and then at Benson in Essex, to have a single short yellow line, just gives people...
You know, it's really, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. This is the one in a row, and I've been mayor for 8 years, where I've had residents come angry about what we were going to do with striping on a street. This is really, it's taken me a little bit by surprise. You shouldn't ask questions you don't know the answers to, because I have a stripe in front of my house on Hawthorne, and it's between Washington, and it's a double line stripe. And I will...
That street is only partially striped.
Well, okay, but it's in front of my house, which is probably the same beef you have.
Well, no, we have a beef, and I don't want to say we have a beef. There's two issues here. Our street looks the way it does, and there never has been a division between Bloomfield and Glen Ridge. We've had wiffle ball games with people with Bloomfield. We've had barbecues. We've had pool parties. Everything we do has always been this one and the same. And that's one of the reasons it's also so frustrating, because we are on a unique street, and we do share it with Bloomfield.
But Sherry, I live on a street that has stripes on it, and I still play softball with the kids across the street, and I have barbecues with them. It hasn't impacted our ability to interact with our neighbors at all.
But that's what we're saying, Mr. Mayor, is that the meeting last week, we got the feeling from the engineer in Bloomfield that it was like, this is a done deal. It's done, it's
Well,
finished.
it hasn't been done yet, Sherry, because we haven't let them do it
We
yet.
didn't have any, we felt like we didn't have any input. So that's all.
But, go ahead.
Has there been any like response from the Bloomfield residents on the same
There's
street?
the meetings we conducted had both Glen Ridge and Bloomfield residents. There was residents from both towns at the meeting.
It was a joint meeting,
It's a
I
joint
think.
meeting.
See, one issue concern is that the traffic study clearly shows that there's a speeding problem, and there should be calming on that street. And you have problems with, I guess, is it Osborne, right?
Osborne and Essex.
The stop sign, where there have been accidents over the years. You saw that we collected all the accident reports for the 10-year period before now. As I said, we'll sit down, we'll talk to Bloomfield, and before anything is done, we haven't changed what we said before, we'll communicate.
116 Essex Avenue. I've been a resident there for about 24 years.
I know the name,
John Heiner. John Heiner. Probably longer than most of them on that street. And the speeding was occurring back, when she lived on the street 30 years ago. And, I seem to just live with it. You have some people that are averaging 30 miles an hour, and then every so often you get a 50, 60 mile an hour driver down the street. And, I just seem to live with it. But I really do not want to live with stripes down my street. I mean, that ruins the value of my house. That takes away a percentage of someone coming into my house to purchase it, or a good neighbor purchasing someone else's house, and it's going to affect the purchasing. So aesthetically, I don't want this to happen. The speeding, the police department's supposed to be doing something about that, and they try and they can't do something, but I don't want them to speed, but it's never going to go away. Never going to go away. But the stripes don't have to be there. They don't have to be there. And they're not there yet. So I really want Glen Ridge to step up to Bloomfield, even if they split 60-40 of the billing, because they're a bigger town, you know, who knows what the state give them. We have to stand up for the residents of half the street. And we could keep on talking. It's really up to you to make it happen. If you do the striping, you let us down. You decrease the value of the house, and that's really not nice to do to your neighbors. That's what it's all about. So please, when you go talk to Bloomfield and the committees, let them know. You know, we're Glen Ridge for a reason. We live in this really nice town for a reason. I moved in, I couldn't get a driveway put in my house because there's this historic society. There's rules. Now you just come and put lines down whenever you want. That's not right, that's not fair. So please, just stand up to Bloomfield and say, no lines. That's it. Yeah, there's some people for it. Yeah, but are they for speeders? Are they for this? Are they for that? So just stand up and say, we don't want it. These people here is only half the amount of people that don't want it. But unfortunately, they're home with their children or working late and they're not able to make the meeting. So it's not just us, it's much more of us. So please just consider, you know, no lines.
Okay, I think we got it. We'll take it under consideration, and I mean, we're not voting on anything tonight, so it's not a public vote. So then we thank you all for coming.
Is there anything else we should know about that you're talking about?
Well, we have an agenda. There's an agenda. You can pick one up, but let's see. We're paying our bills. We're no parking on Carteret Street in an area outside the driveway going up to Public Works. There's a social affairs license for the Junior Women's Club of Verona. It's a big item, and that's about it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Express himself. And I don't get it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jackie Eustine, greetings from the county. Anything going on? How was the,
They go to the Christmas lights again, I'm looking for
okay. Well, we're going to have Christmas lights on our Christmas tree here, or our holiday tree here in front of Town Hall. We're very proud of that. Mike, that should happen, what, next week?
That starts next week, and also, let's get the calendar. We're going to have instead of on the Sunday, we're going to hold the tree lighting on the first Saturday
First Saturday of
December.
First Saturday of December?
Yes.
Okay. First Saturday of December, we're going to have our tree lighting. And that's important because we're going to be relighting the tree with donations. And I should give a shout out to Rotary and to Kiwanis and to all the generous individuals who contributed to the relighting project of the tree. Great community spirit and great community effort. We thank everyone who participated. Okay. Great night to have the band with us. I thought that was fantastic. Mrs. Bulgay, I feel sorry for her loss, but Chief, that was a very nice, thoughtful thing that you did for her. I really appreciate that. And of course, the residents of the two streets that have their issues. We'll deal with them as best we can. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Councilman Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance and Administration Committee has no formal report tonight, but we have a couple of resolutions. I have Resolution 127-15. Be it resolved, the following claims be approved and warrants be drawn for the same. We have a current funding grant total of $526,939. And be it resolved that the Chief Financial Officer Treasurer of the Borough of Glen Ridge is hereby authorized to issue the payroll to the employees of the Borough of Glen Ridge for the pay date of November 9th, 2015. I move the resolution.
Heard the resolution, make it a second. Thank you, Paul. Comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Patrick.
Aye.
Pasovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
I have resolution number 128-15. Be it resolved, the following appropriation transfers be made in the 2014 current budget from total $25,350. I move the resolution.
Heard the resolution? Paul, thank you. Comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Patrick?
Aye.
Masovic?
Aye.
Lefkowitz?
Aye.
Dawson?
Aye.
Murphy?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, resolution is approved.
That was my request tonight.
Thank you, Stuart.
Mr. Mayor, I simply have these three relatively mundane matters that you referred to earlier.
I didn't characterize them as mundane, I don't think.
Anyway, the first item I have is ordinance number 1634, dealing with the amendment to the parking around Carteret Street and the Public Works. Mr. Mayor, ordinance number 1634 for final reading.
Mr. Mayor, this is state for the record that this ordinance has been properly advertised and posted in accordance with the state statute.
And I declare the meeting open for a discussion of this ordinance, only this ordinance, this being the proper time and place for a discussion. Is there anyone who would care to speak out? Seeing none, I declare the hearing closed.
Mr. Mayor, I move that this ordinance be finally passed.
Second that.
Okay, you've heard the motion by Councilman Lesovich, seconded by Councilman Patrick. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Patrick? Masovic?
Aye.
Lefkowitz?
Aye.
Dawson?
Aye.
Murphy?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The ordinance is passed on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I also have the resolution concerning the ABC permit and a raffle permit. So resolution number 129-15 be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control's application submitted by the Junior Women's Club of Verona for a social affair permit for a tricky trade to be held on Saturday, January 30th, 2016 at the Women's Club. Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Heard the resolution. Thank you, David. Comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Patrick?
Aye.
Masovic?
Aye.
Lefkowitz?
Aye.
Dawson? Murphy?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
And I have resolution number 130-15, be it resolved that the mayor and the borough approve the application of the Junior Women's Club of Verona for an on-premise merchandise raffle to be held on the same date at the same place in January 2015.
Heard the resolution. David, may I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you. Comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Patrick?
Aye.
Masovic?
Aye.
Lefkowitz?
Aye.
Dawson? Murphy?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Paul. David?
Mr. Mayor, I have no report this evening, but I have to say I'm sorry to see all the members of the public go because I would have reminded them that Glen Ridge Municipal TV is always looking for contributions and content.
Okay.
And has a couple of cameras available for that purpose. So you can spread the word on Laurel Place.
I wonder if we could get the winning, I wonder if they filmed the winning band competition down in Delaware.
That's a good question.
I wonder if we could put that up. That would be interesting, right?
I'd like to see the Ashton Proctor Classic and Conklin and Mountain film too.
That'd be nice. Sure.
So,
I'll
Yep.
ask my neighbor, Mr. Stages.
When you put images of students up on TV like that, do you have to have certain releases? Rich?
It's a good question.
Sign releases, but even with those releases in the past, they've been reluctant for us to broadcast.
Yeah.
Some events, like we have tried to take the Hollywood parades. and
Yeah.
We've run some football games in the past and things like that. So,
Okay. Well, you know what, of course, we would check with the school first. It's just an idea. I don't know if it's a good idea. It's just an idea.
and depending on the music, there might be a little
You know what? There you go. I don't think it is. It actually is. It's jazzy. It's West Side Story, but it's sort of a modern-y type of. Okay, so what it says is, it's the Marching Ridgers explore the Buddy Rich big band groundbreaking iconic interpretation of West Side Story, with well-known moments from Leonard Bernstein's classic score presented with a hard swinging twist. So that's what I have on that. Thank you, David.
There's a fair use thing for abstraction of it, but if...
You know what?
Yeah, I don't
We'll check it
know.
out.
Yeah.
We'll check it out. Art, go ahead.
I don't know whether that would...
he's asking you to...
Oh, all right. Go ahead with something else. All right, I have a thing for Public Works related to leaf pickup. So So curbside leaf collection has begun. It will be made on your first regular scheduled garbage collection each week. If your garbage is picked up on Mondays and Thursdays, Monday will be your leaf collection day. The last pickup day is December 14th, 2015. If your garbage is picked up on Tuesdays and Fridays, Tuesday will be your leaf collection day. Your last pickup is December 15th, 2015. If your garbage is picked up on Wednesdays and Saturdays, Wednesday will be your leaf collection day. Your last pickup day is December 16th. Okay, leaves may not be placed at curbside on your collection day of the week, second collection day of the week, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Bags may only contain leaves. Leaf bags will not be picked up if they exceed a 50-pound weight limit. There also should be no garden debris, no grass clippings, and no sticks or branches. The reason for that is that the leaves are handled separately in the pickup, and they're delivered down to the town yard, and then there's a group that comes and picks them up for compost, and they won't take them if there's other stuff in it. So we wind up getting stuck with or having to sort it afterwards. So bags are only leaves, and it's on your first two of the 2 days your trash gets picked up during the week. It's an earlier day. So please try to work with us on that, and we'll get everybody's leaves picked up. There certainly are a lot of them. So make it as easy as you can. I have no further report.
Thank you, Art.
Yeah, Mr.
Dan?
Mayor, no formal report, but I do want to give a shout out to the Glen Ridge Pee Wee Football League, who, let me just pull this up if you bear with me, who were the Bergen County Junior Football League champs. They had an undefeated season, these Pee Wee players. They call themselves the Red Dogs, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's noteworthy.
Hopefully it'll lead to a successful high school football season.
Sometime in the future.
10 years from now.
Sometime in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's all.
Thank you, Dan.
They're utilizing the George Washington Field.
They were utilizing the George Washington Field, and maybe that's why they had such a good year.
Councilperson Morrow.
I have nothing other than what I stated before with respect to the outside.
Thank you. We went out of order. Well, I do have one more comment. I would like to congratulate Mayor-elect Stuart Patrick on his big victory last Tuesday, and to returning council people who I thank you very much for your service and for agreeing to come back on to the council. Paul, thank you very much. And Anne Marie Moore, thank you very much. Really, really very proud of you guys. Okay, comments to the administrator?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one. On November 21st, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the train station, the Rotary and Borough are going to hold their 15th annual turkey drive and food drives.
Great.
It's been very successful in the past. We collect 500 turkeys, received about $1,000 in contribution, as well as 800 canned goods. Also, the library will be collecting canned goods starting this week up to the 20th. So we hope all of the residents that will support us in past years and hope the same support this year.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Chief, are you going to report out? Are you going to report out on the seatbelt initiative that we got the flyer on?
Our seatbelt initiative and the team driving that we did in the month of October, and then in November, at the end of November, we'll actually do another weekend of car safety for seatbelts.
Okay.
And I also just wanted to mention that we're working on some crime prevention initiatives over at the train station because of the increase between the months of August and October in bike thefts. We did some outreach with the actual bike owners, had some officers over there, and I think the mixture of crime prevention information, a good lock to use that so far has not been defeated by a bolt cutter, and some surveillance over at the train station. We have not had a theft since that day, but we also did put both of the bike theft subjects in
Well,
jail.
you were arrested, yeah, you were arrested at least one person, and it was really a great nab by one of our police officers, was it Schwartz?
Actually, Detective Schwartz arrested the first subject, and Sergeant Nordellis the second. So there are quite a few people out there, and certainly they're not the only two that are stealing bikes all around Essex County, but I think the mixture between letting people who are riding their bikes there know what the safest lock to use is, one that can't be defeated, and some arrests for other potential thieves to know that we're keeping a close eye on the train station and the surveillance. So far, so good. I just checked in with the detective sergeant. He said that I was correct in saying that there has not been a theft since then at the train station, so we're just going to keep up our initiatives.
Great, thank you, Chief.
Also, ask New Jersey Transit to step up.
We have, that is correct. That's right, I forgot to mention that. We put a call to New Jersey Transit and asked for some of their uniform officers, who sometimes we will see down on the platform, but not always pulling up in a car, to spend some more time at the train station as well.
Great, good idea on that one.
So a question for the chief. Can you tell what the subjects that you apprehended are doing with the bikes? Are they sealing it just for the hell of it? Is there money to be made?
Definitely money. The first subject got on a train from Corey, came to Glen Ridge, cut the bolt cut the lock of the bolt cutters, and was attempting to get back on the train to go to New York City and make the sale. And the second one, same thing, got off a bus on Bloomfield Avenue, came over to use bolt cutters to take a bike, and then was going to ride it into the city of, he said, East Orange. So they're very, very easy to sell, and the reasons are, vary, but for the most part, the reports show that it's for the illegal purchase of controlled dangerous substances, the reason that they're typically being stolen for a quick sale.
Also, the higher-end bikes are targeted. So if you got a $100 bike, use that as opposed to something that's really cool with it.
Not the one that you used to climb up Mount Washington.
That's correct.
Okay, let's see, there's no more members of the public who care to speak. So if Councilman-elect,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.